You look at the schedule, you see Chiefs versus Raiders, and you might think, okay, it's just another Week 7 divisional game. But when these two teams meet, the story isn't about one Sunday afternoon. No, it's written in over 60 years of bad blood, disrespect, and just pure, unadulterated animosity.
So let's start with what's happening today. I mean, you look at this thing on paper, and it looks like a complete and total mismatch. You've got the Chiefs at home, they're desperate to get above 500, and they're favored by a whopping 13.5 points over a struggling Raiders team. Seems pretty straightforward, right?
Well, that's the beautiful thing about this rivalry. The records, the betting lines, you can pretty much throw them right out the window. To really get why this game means so much and why literally anything can happen when these two get together, we gotta rewind the clock, way back. See, this whole feud, it wasn't born on the field during some heated game. Nope. This started at the very top, in the owners' boxes, with two of the most influential and just fundamentally different men in the history of professional football. I mean, right from the very beginning, when the American Football League kicked off in 1960, these two franchises were bitter divisional rivals. All that tension basically boiled over in the final AFL championship game in 1969, where the underdog Chiefs went into Oakland and stunned the Raiders to earn a trip to Super Bowl IV, which, they famously won. And this, right here, is the core of the whole conflict. On one side, you have Lamar Hunt, this gentlemanly diplomat who helped create the league and was always thinking about what was good for everybody. And on the other side, you got the total opposite, the confrontational rebel Al Davis, whose only philosophy was just win, baby. He carried himself with this arrogance that just rubbed everyone the wrong way, especially the Chiefs. Okay, so the foundation of dislike was there, but the rivalry, man, it absolutely ignited in 1989. That's when one coach showed up in Kansas City and basically transformed a business disagreement between owners into pure institutionalized hatred. And that coach was Marty Schottenheimer. For Schottenheimer, you have to understand, this was deeply personal. He absolutely revered his owner, Lamar Hunt, and he saw Al Davis and his whole swagger as a profound sign of disrespect. So for him, beating the Raiders wasn't just about winning a football game. It became a personal crusade to defend his owner's honor. And believe me, this wasn't some quiet mission he was on. Oh no, the players felt this every single day. Former Chiefs defensive back Kevin Ross said Schottenheimer talked about the Raiders with a level of hate he had never heard before in his life. It wasn't just strategy, it was an emotional command. So Schottenheimer basically weaponized this idea of disrespect. During Raider Week, the whole team facility was transformed. I'm talking signs in the elevators, signs in the locker room, and in every single team meeting, he would just drill this one idea into their heads, over and over and over. They don't respect you. He taught his guys that the Raiders were a cheap shot team that played the game the wrong way. And the results? Well, you just can't argue with them. This crusade of disrespect led to one of the most lopsided periods in this rivalry's history. Schottenheimer's Chiefs absolutely dominated Al Davis's Raiders, winning an incredible 18 out of 21 games against them. But it wasn't just about the owners in the suits or the coaches on the sidelines. The feud got amplified, turned up to 11, when key players started crossing enemy lines, turning this rivalry into a stage for some very personal revenge. Even years before Marty ever showed up, Lamar Hunt had already set a pretty bitter tone. In a move people now call a glorious fleecing, Hunt traded his backup quarterback to the Raiders. And what did he get in return? Oh, just the first overall pick in the next draft, which he used to grab Hall of Fame defensive tackle Buck Buchanan, a guy who became a cornerstone of that Super Bowl team. So fast forward a few decades, and now you have a player going the other way. But the motivation? It was exactly the same. Vengeance. Raiders legend Marcus Allen felt totally betrayed by Al Davis. So, in 1993, he signed with the Chiefs, and he said himself he did it to play with Joe Montana and to get a shot at Al Davis twice a year. And in his new coach, Marcus Allen found a perfect partner in crime. He and Schottenheimer were kindred spirits in their shared hatred for the Raiders. Teammates said that during those games against his old team, Allen's intensity was just off the charts, like nothing they'd ever seen. He wasn't just playing to win, he personally wanted to crush Al Davis. So you take all that history, the disrespect, the crusades, the betrayals, how does that all show up on the field today? Well,
The names and the faces have definitely changed, but trust me, the bad blood remains.
In the modern era, the story has been one of Chiefs' dominance, and really, it's been the Patrick Mahomes show. His career record as a starter against the Raiders is, well, it's just staggering. 12 wins and only 2 losses. It's been a rough go for the silver and black.
But, and this is a huge but, that record does not mean this rivalry is dead. Not by a long shot. Even with Mahomes at the helm, the Raiders have this wild knack for playing spoiler. They pulled off a shocking upset on Christmas Day just last season. And back in 2020, they marched into Arrowhead and handed the undefeated Chiefs their first loss of the year. The Raiders, they just live for these moments. And that brings us all the way back to today's game. You've got the Chiefs getting a key weapon back in Rashee Rice. The Raiders are probably going to be without their star tight end, Brock Bowers. The stakes are crystal clear. Kansas City is fighting to stay in the divisional race, and Las Vegas, they would love nothing more than to ruin their day and pour some gasoline back on this ancient fire.
Because at the end of the day, this was never just about football, was it? It's a clash of philosophies, of personalities, and of cultures that has stretched across generations. From Hunt versus Davis to Schottenheimer's crusade to Mahomes versus whoever is wearing that silver and black.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean? It means that in this rivalry, history isn't just in the past. It always has a seat on the bench. The weight of 60 years of hatred often matters a whole lot more than any stat sheet. When these two teams play, you can throw the records right out the window.